Hey, Dennis, you're running this motherfucking show. I'm halfway through the end unless I get another bottle of wine sitting by me. Okay?
Dennis! Get him a bottle! For Christ's sake, Dennis!
What do you want, motherfucker?
Bukowski was telling me, if your parents begin to like your work, it's getting bad, you know. And if the cops are around, something good must be happening. And what you need is life. Your work has to be alive. And you gotta, you know, drink, write, and fuck. That was his advice.
And I heard him flick his bick. And then I heard like the singeing of hair, you know, and I looked over and I could see him, and the flame was up really high, and he went like, and then he went, Argh!
He called me and said, you motherfucker, you put something in my wine. And I said, no, I didn't. He said, yes. He said, yes, you put LSD in my wine because you want to fuck my wife.
Oh, yeah, the time he pulled this blade on the maitre d' at the Polo Lounge. There was that.
The cop said, you know, what are you doing? Stop. And he said, I'm going to throw the couch through the window. And the cop drew his gun and said, no, you're not.
What they called me in the bar in the old days was a good duker. And that's the ultimate compliment.
Finally, I see him across the street from me, and he's unzipped himself, and he's taking his cock out. And he's not waving it, but it's just dangling there, and he's running up and down the street, and people are screaming and horrified. And finally they gather around him. Call the police! They're covering their children's eyes. Call the police!
The creative act is done in that goddamn machine right here. See this fucking thing? That's where it's done.
He talked a lot about his sexual prowess. He referred to his penis as his purple onion.
I saw him looking at me, and I ducked quickly forward, ducking my head into the night. It was move forward. You never say duck and ducking. That's the first thing you learn, you know. But I fucked it up because I'm drunk on wine. Forgive me. You have my soul and I have your money.
I'll tell you something else occurred to me now, since you guys want to listen to things, want to listen to some shit. I feel like throwing this beer right in your face.
Why?
I'll tell you why. I always thought sometime in my life this time might come a little bit, like guys marching in on me with cameras and all that shit. Somehow I almost felt it and knew it. I was always going to crash it down and say, jam it up your ass. You know, the young blondes with the tight pussies came too late. The cameras came too late. Don't grin at me like that, it's true. They came too late, I'm too strong. The gods have really put a good shield over me, man. They really have. I've been toughened up at the right time and the right place. They're still good to me.
Lawrence Ferlinghetti up in San Francisco invited Bukowski to go to San Francisco to read at the City Lights Poets Theater. I had never heard him read, actually. It was very interesting. We just met, we started to develop a relationship, and bang, this thing happened. So I said, I'm going to travel. Now, I had this minuscule budget. I decided to shoot in black and white.
City Lights in the last year has started presenting American poets who I believe are major writers in this country, and at the moment, like, what else is happening besides Bukowski? Thank you.
We go up in the plane, he's drinking scotch. He got pretty drunk and a little silly, and I was shooting the whole thing.
No, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. I'll be all right. Nervous? I wish I were more nervous. You read better when you're a little nervous, you know. Really, it's like, you know, before a fight or something. you're nervous.
He arrives in San Francisco for this reading at Ferlinghetti's Poets Theater, and my God, it was like the second coming. We walked into this big gymnasium, and there were bleachers set up, and, you know, there were like 600-700 people there.
Hey, you're lining up around the corner.
You have a little pot on the stage I can vomit in?
Yeah,
No, I'm not kidding.
We'll get
Cheap
something.
Italian wine, man. You guys really fucked me up.
He was a little drunk, and I think he was building himself up, and I think he was a little scared.
I'm in great shape. Down here.
Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, Charles Bukowski.
The poetry readings he did in Los Angeles were, you know, be 15 people, 20 people. You know, you get 30 people, it was a crowd. And here we walked into hundreds and hundreds, and it was a loud, rowdy audience.
Do I know you? One more beer. I'll take you all of you.
And at the same time, there was a certain electricity in the air. He didn't have to share the podium. This was a Bukowski event. Bukowski was a fairly well-known underground figure in Los Angeles at the time because he wrote a column at the LA Free Press called The Notes of a Dirty Old Man. One week, he wrote this article in there about going to San Francisco to read and having these punk, asshole, stupid filmmakers along, and he was trying to kind of help them along and organizing this and that as these people bumble through and asking stupid questions and so on. It was quite an entertaining, kind of funny piece. So I read it, and I saw him later, and I said, he said, Hank, I said, I read that article. He says, yeah, baby, what'd you think? I said, well, I thought it was full of shit, man. I said, you forget, I have the film. You're the guy who's drunk on the plane making a fool out of yourself, and you made me. He says, hey, baby, when I write, I'm the hero of my shit. And he says, you got your film? You do your film.
Born like this, into this, as the chalk faces smile, as Mrs. Death laughs, as political landscapes dissolve, as the oily fish spit out their oily prey. We are born like this, into hospitals which are so expensive that it's cheaper to die, into lawyers who charge so much it's cheaper to plead guilty, into a country where the jails are full and the madhouses closed, into a place where the masses elevate fools into rich heroes. Born into this, walking and living through this, dying because of this, castrated, debauched, disinherited because of this. The fingers reach toward an unresponsive God. The fingers reach for the bottle, the pill, the powder. We are born into the sorrowful deadliness. There will be open and unpunished murder in the streets. It will be guns and roving mobs. Land will be useless. Food will become a diminishing return. Nuclear power will be taken over by the many. Explosions will continually shake the earth. Radiated men will eat the flesh of radiated men. The rotting bodies of men and animals will stink in the dark wind. And there will be the most beautiful silence never heard. Born out of that, the sun hidden there, awaiting the next chapter.
His full name was Henry Charles Bukowski, Jr., and his father called him Henry with a very strong, gruff voice. So Hank was sort of the nickname for Henry. And Charles, just Charles Bukowski, especially being a writer, sounded a little better than Henry Bukowski.
Shit, I don't know if I can make this on just 2 bottles, and maybe a 3-bottle rating.
Liquor's like a symphony or like a classical song or something. You don't use it as a downer, you use it as to leap up into the sky, or when you're in pain, or when we have depression.
Now, if I start reading this poem and I hear this man's voice rising above the sound of my poem, I'm going to go over to him and kick his living ass right out of this thing. Physically. I'm going to kick his ass right out of this goddamn hall. So watch it, man. I'll take you like a motherfucker.
When did you realize you were a writer, that you had a talent?
Nobody ever realizes they're a writer. They only think they're a writer.
So when did you think you were a writer?
Well, I guess I was about 13 years old. And I was covered with these boils, and my first writing I had this notebook, for school. I just found a pencil and I started writing, and I filled this notebook full of words. I guess that was the first time the mechanism had exposed itself. Then it felt pretty good sitting there writing in a notebook with a pencil. I wrote on and on. It seemed a very easy, nice thing to do, and it still remains an easy, nice thing to do.
Like he said on a tape I have somewhere, I know exactly when I became a writer. It was on such a delving day. I love that when he said that. Such a delving day when I sat down and I wrote about a man with one arm who blasted people out of the sky, Manfred von Richthofen. And my father saw that little short story and he tore it up. I would say after that he was a writer. That was it. He was going to LA City College, it's still there on Vermont, and he walked into the journalism class.
I had 2 years of college, but I didn't do anything. I just laid on the lawn, missed classes, and I couldn't get a job as a journalist. They say, fill out an application, we'll let you know. And it's a very hard job to get on a newspaper.
So it was not your decision that you didn't work as a journalist?
No, I think if they had hired me, I would have been a journalist. In a way, I'm glad they didn't, because what could I write about?
Did you ever went to the army?
Oh, no.
How you managed it not to go there?
The psychiatrist would not take me. He asked me, you believe in the war? I said no. You willing to go to the war? I said yes. He said, you're a very intelligent man. You come to a party at my house next Wednesday night. We're going to have artists, writers, painters, lawyers.
I want you to come to my party next Wednesday night. Will you come to my party? I said, no. He said, okay, you can go. I said, what do you mean I can go? He says, you don't have to go to the war. I smiled.
When I first came to the United States and fell in love with American literature and music and jazz and the whole shebang, really, I just fell for it. It was very uncool in England to be, beholding to America, but I was Irish, so I was forgiven, and I just got lost in the poetry of the place names, and City Lights was an important stop-off from me. So I picked up a few of Hank's early books, Love is a Dog from Hell, Hot Water Music, and I started to discover a new kind of writing that had a directness away from the beats which I'd started out with. The beats were a connection for an Irishman because of, you could eat the language, and it was rich and prosaic. But here was a guy who was like, look, no time for metaphor. I was like, can we just get straight down to the bone, to the marrow of the bone?
It's not the large things that send a man to a madhouse. Death he's ready for, or murder, incest, robbery, fire, flood. No, it's a continuing series of small tragedies that send a man to the madhouse. Not the death of his love, but a shoelace that snaps with no time left. With each broken shoelace, out of 100 broken shoelaces, one man, one woman, one thing enters a madhouse. So be careful when you bend over.
I have to shoot a portrait now.
Well, let's get that picture out of the way.
All right.
Michael, do I look good?
Together.
And the definition of sex.
Sex is something you do when you can't sleep.
Who was your first woman?
Well, I was the 300-pound whore.
Jesus.
I didn't have my first piece of ass till I was 24 years old.
Really?
Well, I wasn't a pretty guy, and I didn't have any money. I was a bum.
Yeah.
Sorry, I never went to the high school ball or anything like that. I was an outcast. So I met this lady in the bar. And, she seemed to like me. First woman ever liked me, She was big, but she was a woman. What the hell? And I was drunk, and she was drunk. We drank our beer, and then I got into it. So I worked, and I worked, and I worked, and I worked, because I wanted to prove I was a man, first time. Boy, I really tried. I said, boy, if this is sex, it sure is lousy. This is what they've been talking about in the high school locker rooms. So I don't know if I made it, I probably did. But anyhow, I woke up, we're both laying there, and she's snoring on her back. And I look over, this huge beast is laying there. And we'd broken the bed, both legs and my butt. We were like on a hill. The bed was down like that. So, then I rushed to my pants, my wallet was missing. I said, you fucking whore, you took my wallet. She said, no, I didn't. I said, get out of here, you bitch. I said, I don't know where you got it, up your cunt, this room up there. I started to learn how to talk this way. And I tied up the legs. While I was tying up the legs of the bed, I reached under, I felt something on the rug. It was my wallet. Oh, that